Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today in what will be our last webinar for 2020, Building a Runway for New Talent and Next-Gen, really what's in it for them. So in our last conversation, if you joined us in our last webinar, we really focused on how firms can position themselves more appropriately using 2020 and some of the changes we've seen this year and thinking through your strategy moving forward. We're really excited today to dig into that a little bit deeper and really focus the conversation around talent and around how firms can think about talent growth, talent acquisition, and really using human capital as a way to propel themselves into the future. So my name is Brandon Kawal, Principal here at Advisor Growth. As all of you join our webinar today, I'm joined by John Fury, our Managing Partner here, and we're very, very excited. We have special guests from Meridian joining us today. Margaret, Dechant, Sarah Hampton, and Tim Rozzell are joining us to give their perspectives on this topic around talent and next-gen, and we're really excited to see where that conversation goes. A couple of housekeeping items that we will focus on today. One, we are recording this webinar, so this recording will become available for those of you that are joining us, or for those that want to take a look at it after the fact, we will make that available. We are going to go through a brief set of content that I will spend about 10 minutes reviewing here up front, and then we're going to spend the bulk of the time together today in a panel discussion that John will help us lead and really just get into the dialogue around this topic and really dig in deep. For everybody that's joining us, as a participant, you are muted. Only the panelists will be speaking. However, if you do have questions, and John will remind you of this as we go through, please feel free to use the Q&A button and send us questions, and we'll do our best to get to them during the conversation today. So let's jump right into it. From why focus on talent at all? And I think from our perspective on the consulting side, really there's evolving trends in wealth management, and we believe people are still very much front and center of the trends and how you're going to compete now and going forward. But the idea of talent and the idea of recruiting and attracting and retaining talent in our minds has really evolved, and there's some larger trends that are affecting that perspective as we move forward. The first is technology. So it's discussed a lot, but really looking at the technology advancements in our space and technology advancements for RIAs, really having digital savvy talent is required, right? And really being able to compete in the next wave. The second piece is the evolution of advice. So we're looking at, we're firm believers in this on our side. The industry is changing, right? The way that you participate with your clients, the value you add for your clients, this idea of integrated life, wealth, really things beyond investments and really enhancing your relationships with your clients. And then the third is diversity and inclusion, really looking at a diverse talent base needed to match, sort of the diverse clients that you're going to work with. But more importantly, this industry, is really needs talent. It really needs to continue to attract talent, and diversity and inclusion is going to be a huge lever for firms to use and be able to build out their people-centric business model. So what does it look like really going into the new competitive environment for talent? For us, creating that runway is key, and as we think about the changes we've all seen in 2020 and the way that you approach your business, we believe this is a top priority. So you think about 2021 and moving forward, creating clear opportunities for growth and participation are just key in attracting and retaining talent. And there's a couple ways to do that. A lot of times compensation is discussed, but we think it's a little bit more broad-reaching than that. So you're really looking at what is talent looking for going forward. I've done a lot of next generation research in talent. I tend to associate with the next generation of talent coming through, and I think the first and foremost, hitting it sort of right on the target is impact and contribution, right? Talent, new talented professionals are looking for a way to impact the business and increase their contribution over time. What does that require? It requires a career path and really thinking about teaming. So how does somebody fit in from the day they start to as they train to as they grow in their career with you? And then the compensation package is simply a way to reinforce all of those things and reinforce the growth and increases in contribution for your talent. Because one of the things, we've heard this in the past, wouldn't use that daunting word millennials, but really regardless of generation of talent, talented people are likely to stick with their employers and likely to stick it out if they have the growth and purpose and the path inside of the business to advance their career. So really what we're trying to encourage you think through planning for the future, how do people progress at your firm, right? That is a really, really important baseline idea here, where you think about the path and creating functional teams and functional roles within the business. As people come in, there's key questions that you can start to ask yourself that really help inform this, right? Is there the ability to advance? If there is, what evidence is there that somebody can take that path with you, really? Can they see either others have done it or you're very clear with them on how they can advance in your firm? Does your compensation plan reinforce those changes, right, is another component of this that we'll talk more about. Then as somebody is advancing, what is expected of them to continue to advance in their career? So as we've got into it in the past and we do this work for the space, sometimes there is a one-step progression or maybe a leap progression that exists in a firm and not much beyond that, right? How do you actually continue to move on in your career if people want them? Look, some talented people will be perfectly comfortable reaching their ideal role and staying there, but the vast majority of hard-charging professionals are going to look for ways to continue to advance over time. What that's going to require for your firm and for your business is what opportunities are you taking advantage of to coach and develop, right? To really be an active participant in developing people, because that is really going to signal to your team how invested you are in their advancement in the business. And then over the long term, what can they earn from their contributions? We're going to talk a little bit more about, incentives through this structure, but really you have to be able to give people a path to say, hey, I can have quality of life, maybe it's work-life balance, I can continue to learn and grow, job titles can be important, any combination of those things that represent to your team that they have advanced and there is more for them to accomplish with your business. Being able to give them the clarity to be able to see how that develops at your firm, for us, is going to be a fundamental way to compete going forward. So what are some practical ways that you can look at this as a business? The financials are an important first step. So really investing in the business, investing in talent leads to more long-term options. As a consulting firm, we like to look at top-down targets. But I think what we really want the audience to take away here is you can use your financial structure as a way to think through investing in the business and also how people participate over the long haul, right? Creating predictability around profit, being clear how people are rewarded for their work, and then also being clear about how the business is going to invest in the future through that profitability. We've said it time and time again, we think profitability north of 20%, ideally even north of 25%, is a really, really healthy place to be. But it also gives you the ability to invest more talent, more infrastructure, and invest in the things that will propel your firm over the long haul versus short-term changes. So really where that can kind of lead to is incentives. So this is a chance, end of the year, we've had a tough year in 2020, but we still think this is a good opportunity to look at your incentive structure. Does it work over the long haul? There's no one-size-fits-all solution here, but outlining the rules of engagement for your team is very important. So how does somebody get incentives for their job, right? Is it variable? Are there set targets that they receive for excellence in their role? Are you going to offer anything over what we call long-term incentive plans, synthetic equity, deferred compensation, traditional equity for people to come into? And then don't overlook benefits, right? So one of the things that comes up a lot in our day-to-day is, yes, the cash compensation, long-term cash compensation, those are all very important items, but benefits do matter, right? So non-cash elements of your plan, whether it's retirement plans, insurance, work-life balance, flexible time off policies, those types of things all matter in the total compensation structure. And really, different contributors are going to be motivated in different ways. We have different reference points from your team. So your best bet is to be able to line these things up and really look at how they motivate your team to stick around and do a really good job for you. It's really hard to lose somebody over items like this. knowing how much work you have to put in to get contributors to a level that you want them to be at, and also to be very highly productive for the business, right? It really can set you back. So, as we talk about, and this is going to be a great transition as we think about the conversation today, but it's really about creating an internal value proposition, right? Firms sell themselves to new clients, but how do you sell yourself to talent, right? Both your existing talent and new folks that are going to join your firm today. The dynamics, the competitive dynamics in the space have changed. It's hard enough to find talent. It's really hard to retain talent. But there are things you can take or steps you can take through your internal value proposition to be able to do that. But basically putting in as much time for your team and for attracting new talent as you do to attract that next new client. But one thing I will say, and I'll leave you with this as we transition to the conversation, don't overlook that when a contributor accepts an offer to work with you, that's just when things are getting started, right? You get them to join the firm, you're just getting started in that. So take the opportunity in today, learn from this year and take the opportunity to plan for the future to find out, to really take a look at this internal value proposition and keep your team motivated to help you grow in the future. With that, I ran a minute or two over, but I'm going to go ahead and pause. I want to transition to John. I'm really excited about this panel conversation and to hear some perspectives from folks that are in a really, really successful RIA. So John, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, and we'll go ahead and get started with the dialogue.
Thanks, Brandon. Really excited to spend time today with Sixth Meridian. We've known them as a partnership and as one of the leading wealth management firms for, going on 4 or 5 years now, and it's been fantastic to see their growth story. So today, we have some founders on the line. Sarah, you'll hear from, is kind of maybe a G2 in industry terms, and then Tim kind of hitting the stride and working well within Sixth Meridian. So we'll have an interactive discussion. We'll talk to the entire group. Brandon will join in a little bit, but I think a great place to start is to hear from Margaret, who was at the beginning in the team's very, very beginning origins before an RIA. So Margaret, maybe you want to talk about the team, its foundation, and how it's been growing over the years.
Yeah, thank you, John, and thank you for inviting us to be part of this. We're very excited we're always excited to talk about our firm and our people, and we appreciate the opportunity to share what works, what has worked for us. So the long story short, there are parts of our team that have been together for going on 20 years. We came together in a wirehouse environment, and there were in 2016, actually in 2014, we started to look at what are options for our team. We had built out that we were primarily a self-functioning team within a wirehouse environment, which if you know that environment, that's not an always easy formulation to come around. So we had built out our own investment management platform. We had our own wealth planning platform. We had hired some of our own people. So we were basically a business inside the wirehouse. And what we wanted to do was to expand upon our capabilities to meet the ever increasing complexity of our client needs, and launched our firm Sixth Meridian in 2016. At that time, we were 13 of us. There were 7 partners, no other advisors besides partners, and then the rest of that was support team and operations and marketing. Since that time, we have delivered on that promise to our clients to expand our capabilities. We are now 23 strong. We've added in large part on the advisor side, followed by the investment management team. And then I've also filled in on the client service side. So our growth story really revolves around our clients' increasing complexity in their financial lives and our strong commitment to continue to deliver expertise and capacity to be able to deliver strong client service, proactive client service, and kind of anticipate what their family needs before they may even know about it. So that's where we sit today.
Yeah, very nice. So one of the, I think, unique strengths of Sixth Meridian as a team is how they go about finding talent. It's quite deliberate. So maybe, and that's what this is all about: next gen talent and both sides of the equation, not just the owners and the founders, but also the team. So Margaret, and I'm going to ask Tim to join in too on the other side. Like, maybe you could talk a little bit about how you find new contributors for Sixth Meridian, and Tim, your story of how you you came into the team?
Well, I'll lead that off in that we find our people a lot of the ways in similar fashion to the way we find our prospects and new clients. We articulate very clearly to our clients and our centers of influence that we are an enduring firm, that we are going to be around for generations to help our clients, through all that life delivers to them. So in many cases, we're working with 3, if not 4 generations of a family. And so we have clearly articulated that to centers of influence and clients, that we are looking for talent to expand our expertise, to increase our capacity. And honestly, a number of our referrals for new talent have come from clients and centers of influence. They know our team. They know what kind of people we are inside of our team, what kind of commitment we make to our clients, and the high expectations we have of ourselves. So who better to look for talent on our behalf than the people who really know us?
Yeah, and I think my story is probably a really good example of that, and just a great example of the relationships that the partners at this firm have built around the city of Wichita and in the financial services space as well. I was working at an insurance company here in Wichita and decided that wasn't the path I wanted to go on. Wanted to be more on the RIA side. Thought fee-based planning, being a fiduciary for clients is the way the industry is going as a whole, and wanted to be there. And so I found a firm about halfway across the country that offered me a job. And when I told my boss at the insurance company that I was going to leave, he said, "Well, I'd hate to see you leave Wichita. And this sounds like an okay opportunity, but," he said, "I know these people over at a firm called 6 Meridian, and I really think you should meet them before you make a decision." He said, "I don't know if they're hiring, but you should just meet them." And the next day I called Andrew, our chief investment officer. He was the main contact for this guy, and said, "Hey, heard about you guys. Said I need to come meet you before I make any decisions. Can you take some time to do that?" And so I came in, met with him, Margaret, and Brian, one of our managing directors, and we had great conversation. In my opinion, we hit it off really well from the beginning, and just kind of saw eye to eye on a lot of things. And I told Brian, we were sitting in his office, and I said, "Hey, I hope I made a good impression. If you guys are looking for somebody in 5 years or so, please give me a call. I hope you think of me." And he said, "Well, if we asked you to stay, would it change your mind?" And I just kind of laughed, and I said, "Probably." I didn't want to seem overeager or anything, but came back and met with the rest of the partners that afternoon, and it was such an easy decision. And this is 6 months into 6 Meridian even being a firm, so not a lot of things in place, but just knowing the people and getting to spend time with them, it was a no-brainer. And it's been a lot of fun over the last 3.5, almost 4 years.
And clearly it was for us too, because we hired him the next day.
Yeah, very nice. That's an awesome story. I'm gonna switch gears a little bit and bring in Sarah here. The word 6 Meridian it was super cool to us because it references an area in Wichita, but it also references 6 founders, which Sarah is one of them. And Sarah plays like a key role in helping build teams at 6 Meridian, how they face off against clients. So Sarah, maybe we just start right there and just say what is 6 Meridian's approach to building teams to just do an unbelievable job that you all do in serving your clients, which of course is triggering the growth.
So I think one of the things we do really well is collaborate. I think you see a lot of teams or businesses that maybe try to silo what they're doing a lot versus working together. And so one of the key things that we do well and helps to serve our clients is to collaborate. And so one thing, when we're meeting with a client, we try to make sure they always have 2 contacts at all times on the advisor team. And that varies. We don't just have 1 or 2 people that work together all the time. We try to find the right personality to match the client. And then we, from that perspective, try to dig into what our strengths are and collaborate there. So if you've got an insurance need, who would do that best? And if you've got a next generation, like Margaret was talking about, how we've got multiple generations within a family or a household, we want to make sure that we're creating a connection for the client to have continuity of service. And so we might build a team for that client around that. And aside from that, what we've done just as a firm is to try to work as a team there and make sure that everything we do, like Brandon was talking about incentives, and when we talk about our comp plans as well, which I know we'll get into, is we try to make sure that there's always incentive for us to always work together on everything, because that makes what we do for our clients better. And it makes all of us better together as a team than we would be if we were trying to do things individually apart. I think that is really key. We might take it for granted, but when we look at other teams as we try to evaluate how we do things, we've found that that is a bit unique in how we really focus on that.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I think that leads to a variety of things. One is a better client experience, and two is just team development. One thing, and I would invite really any of you to talk about this, is 6 Meridian does an unbelievable job with internal mentorship. The team mentoring each other. A lot of it's maybe the founders, but it's happening day in and day out around there. Maybe you could talk about how you're approaching mentorship to kind of bring your team up with you. It's not all about the money.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm going to give you the perspective from the bottom here of the mentorship, and I'd say really it goes both ways, and that's a big kudos to our partners and the most experienced people on our team. I've had the opportunity, since I was the first advisor that wasn't a partner hired into this team, and I've had an opportunity to work with everybody. Every advisor in one way or another worked very closely with, and the openness to share information and to help people along their path has just been incredible to me. From Margaret and Sarah to Brian, Pam, Tom, Andrew. Tom Kirk, our senior managing director, is one of the best business development people that you will ever meet, if not the best. He's probably the best, but he's always willing to share, hey, this is how I talk to people. This is what I think about it. This is how you give fantastic service. And that's rubbed off on everybody around here. And the same with Margaret and the way she thinks about business, with Andrew and the way that he thinks about investments. The amount of information sharing that happens is fantastic. And there's just not a better environment to learn in.
I'll pitch in there too. When I joined the firm, at the time we were 2 teams, which then we merged and launched 6 Meridian. But the thing that I go back to is it was very intimidating in the beginning to be the youngest partner by maybe 20 years. And you're just wondering, where's the bar set here? What do I really need to do? And there is, like Tim was saying, there's no shortage of advice if you ask for it and willingness to share that. So I think that's really key. If you want your firm to have a lasting legacy or continue to develop so that you can exponentially grow, you really have to be available to share your knowledge with each other. And that's been really, really helpful, because you don't always have to have a perfect plan in how you coach the next level. It helps to continue to make that better, which we're doing. But as long as you have the openness and ability to share that and learn from each other, I think it's really key. It doesn't matter what your experience is on the team. I've seen everybody at all levels of experience learn from each other, and that's a big deal.
One thing, in the end, the numbers don't lie. Maybe, I know, Margaret, you might want to say something here, but I'll give you a quick follow-up question to your comments. Maybe you can give the audience some relativity of, you went independent 2016, here we are, fast forward to today, how that's translated into the growth of the firm.
Well, number-wise, team-wise, we've grown, obviously, personnel-wise. It's also given us, and I'll get to numbers in a minute, but it's given us the ability to execute on some key strategies, some commitments we made internally to deliver to our clients. One was we manage portfolios internally, and this spring during COVID, all things COVID chaos, we launched 6 Meridian ETFs, which now trade on the stock exchange. We could never have done that without adding the capability on the investment management team that we've had, and on the advisor team that we've developed in delivering that to our clients. Same goes for the wealth planning side of things. What that translates into numbers is double-digit growth when it comes to our revenue. 2020 kind of threw us a curve, but nonetheless, we've had great growth. When we left the wirehouse in 2016, we had $2 billion under custody, so to speak, and now we are just short of $3 billion under custody. So obviously, and I would tell you, our story, both from a firm and then from this multi-generational enduring firm message that we articulate, has resonated wildly with our client base and with our centers of influence. They want to know that we are building out our talent and our capabilities, and that we're going to be around for a while.
One thing before we go on, I'll encourage the audience, if there's any questions, we're going to run this about, let's call it 15 more minutes or so. So, fire away if you have any questions for the team at 6 Meridian. Let's talk a little bit about maybe the culture of the firm and attributes you're looking for in contributors. What does the team look for in the next new hire? We kind of went through Tim's story a little bit, but is there things you're looking for? How do you approach it?
I'll lead off and then I'll ask you guys to weigh in. We look for, obviously, attitude. We want people that come in here and they want to contribute. I think you laid it out nicely in your introduction. We want people that want to make an impact, that want to see a career path and want to know exactly what's expected of them. Everyone does. There is no job beneath anyone in this firm. We are very much a team player environment. So if the person leads with what is in it for me, as that's probably not the person we're attracted to. Is how can I contribute to the clients? How can I contribute to the team? How can I help Sarah, continue to evolve with her clients? How can I help Tim get more business? Whatever the case may be, is how can I contribute to the team? And probably the most, from my perspective, is a desire to serve clients. Because at the end of the day, this is all about relationships. It's all about how you communicate and articulate your value to your clients. It's that integrated life and wealth that Brandon mentioned earlier. And people that have a strong desire and a heart for service will do well with us and within our industry.
I'll pitch into that as well. You talk a lot about, or people talk a lot about, when they're hiring people, they want them to be competent, and you do. So you might start there, but it's very difficult to coach culture. And so you want them to be a good fit for your team. And like Margaret was saying, you want some aligned incentives, right? You want them to want to serve the way you've treated your clients, to come to expect this level of excellence, and that you really serve them first, and that there is nothing that's beneath you from a service perspective across the team. Everyone's humble in that aspect, finding solutions and really taking a personal approach with the clients. And that's what you want to see in the people that we bring onto this team, is that they want to collaborate, they want to work together, they want to share information, they want to serve your clients first and continue to push the ball forward. And then they want to accomplish the same things as 6 Meridian, right? Their goals are what 6 Meridian's goals are. And as long as those things line up, I think you have this crazy amount of success. It's not only awesome from a successful perspective, but it's really fun. And I think that's what makes it so great here.
That's really cool. I'm going to switch gears and get a little bit more tactical. And Brandon, maybe I'll ask you, you've done research on this and, work with our clients. What tactical ideas maybe would you share to, finding, like you said, a couple of things. One, building, an ideal value proposition, like why people would want to join, your RIA, your independent firm. And then 2, just tactics around how do you validate you have the right hire? Is it just interview process, or is there something more to it?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I want to echo something that's been said, a couple of times, through, and really appreciate this perspective. I think from a finding talent perspective, as you start talking about the right fit, that was mentioned multiple times, and really to find that right fit, there's the tactics of going out and leveraging your network. I really like the example that Margaret gave, COIs and others that know you in this space, and there's also sort of going out and recruiting direct. We've seen firms have success with LinkedIn and any of those platforms that you can use to ask for talent and put out job requisitions. But I think what's really important to that is everything that's been said on this call is that you are selling your story, because that's your filter, right? You're actually out there telling people who you are, what you're looking for, and the value proposition you bring to clients, and you're looking for people that resonate with that, right? That come in. So I think one, your network. We still think your network as a founding group, but also through your team. We're seeing a lot of success there. Look, if you do a really great job with your existing people, they know people that may or may not be a great fit for your business. That's one area that we're seeing a lot of success. But I can't stress enough that it's kind of like pitching your clients, right? Here's what we do for you, and here's all the value we bring to your life. Well, going to employees, the same thing. Here's our story, and here's how we want to run it. It's not going to be for everybody, but it gives you a higher probability of finding the right fit. I think from there, when you're going through the hiring process, the things we've talked about this a lot. I think the interview process is one. Sometimes it's your gut check of what you're looking for and the questions you're asking. But also, there's some tactical things you can do around personality testing, for example, right? And some people get a little nervous about that early in the process, but we do it. We know a lot of clients who use personality testing to see how you fit in with the team. Looking at, whether the case studies and things like that. But really, I think just you're assessing the fit, right? And I think Margaret and Sarah and Tim have all kind of said this, really looking at how do you fit in, how do we work together, because you're really trying to evaluate that up front to see how somebody fits in your broader team construct. And it's okay to be picky, right? It's kind of that higher slow, right, type of perspective, because, most, if not all, RIAs are small to medium-sized businesses at this point. One person can make a huge difference in the culture of the firm.
Cool. Thanks for that, Brandon. One of the tactics as well, it's just the reality of the business we're in, the world we live in, is compensation. I like how Brandon was talking about it earlier. Shouldn't be tail wagging the dog. The compensation plan should be an outcome of maybe the person you're recruiting, your needs as a company, and then also just the merit, at the end of the day, what do you bring into the table? So maybe maybe I'll ask Margaret and Tim to help with this. Margaret, maybe you talk a little bit about the firm's compensation philosophy, how it's working, what you're trying to incent, and then Tim, maybe the attractiveness when you join the firm.
Yeah, it kind of runs there. A bit two different sections to that. So our compensation for our support team has always been based upon the growth of our firm. So it was a bonus pool funded directly by the growth in our revenue. So everyone participates. If we all win if the firm won. We have, through the help of advisor growth strategies, developed 2 years ago a very defined compensation plan for our advisors. And the ability of this plan, it is tied to the growth of the firm, but it is also tied to individual performance. And what I really like about it is twofold, in that it does what you alluded to earlier, is that it establishes a career path. People know exactly what's expected of them to get to the next level. What the growth metrics are that they are to hit. We bring people in with very low expectations on business development side, because what we don't need are small clients. What we need are people coming in to help Sarah and I and the other partners free up our time to deal with more complex clients. So the incentive plan for our advisor team lines up directly with what's expected of you now, what's expected of you to advance up the career path, and then what's the compensation that's tied to that. So it's pretty well, Tim may dispute this, but it's pretty crystal clear from a management perspective. When we talk to people, here's what your expectation is of you in this firm. It also has the ability you alluded to earlier, is people can kind of hit that tick point. They are comfortable where they are, they're comfortable where they sit inside the firm, and they don't necessarily want to continue up that curve. So it gives us that ability too, to continue to set career-long expectations with people.
Yeah, I'm not going to dispute any of that. I think that our compensation plan has been very well built. So, John, to your point, the attractiveness, when I joined, as I mentioned, 6 months into the life of 6 Meridian. And so at that point, this wasn't in place. The attractiveness was the team, and we both put a lot of trust in each other from both sides of saying, hey, I know you guys are working on building this out. Margaret and I had a lot of great conversations about it, and it's been a lot of fun. I think I'm the only one on this call that wasn't involved in the process of putting it together, but I've had the opportunity to see the product and the clarification of not only roles, but that career path. And a guy that's a lot smarter than me said something to the tune of, a great compensation plan and incentive plan is built based on what drives your business forward, right? So you want to incentivize people to help drive your business forward. And that helps with what you just talked about too, in the hiring and getting the right people on the bus. Because if we build an incentive plan like you guys have, like we have, that incentivizes people to act and perform in a way that drives this business forward long term. If someone's not performing in that way, then there's 2 things, right? Either you're not incentivizing them correctly, or they're not the right person to be on that bus. And so when you build the incentives that are built alongside your business goals, then you know if this isn't working, that's probably not the right person to be on the bus. So not only has it made it great from my perspective, because there is clarity along that career path and the compensation model, but I'm sure Margaret would tell you, and all the partners would tell you, it helps them immensely in evaluating performance and evaluating talent within the firm.
Yeah, Tim, that's such a great segue. We've had a couple of audience questions come in, and I'm going to lob this one to Sarah. Sarah's done a ton at 6 Meridian on business management, whether it be training programs or building out the service experience. But this hits right into what Tim's saying. This all sounds well and good, but how are you building? The question is, how are you building accountability within 6 Meridian? Is it simply the plan just driving it all? But how are you doing that? Making sure the team's on track, individuals are on track.
What we've done is identify some coaching opportunities within our team for new advisors coming in. And they might have the opportunity to work with everyone, like we try to do from a collaboration perspective, but they might answer directly to one person to help them through the coaching process. And in doing so, we've tried to develop a coaching agenda, if you will, to work them through, like Margaret was mentioning, ways for them to improve their career and continue to grow up the path and not just have a stopping point. And so we'll build that out as a shell first. And then as we bring them in, we'll work through it with them to identify their goals and make sure they understand the incentive that's going along with it. But then we can hold them accountable to whether or not they achieve those goals and have regular review processes for that, so that they understand whether or not they're meeting expectations, and then get some skin in the game as far as setting their targets in the future, not just have us dictating to them what the requirements are, but having them lay some things out there that aren't just super easy to get to, but are challenging as well. And that helps us get some accountability for them, because then we have incentive programs that are built along that, some bonus pieces that go into play if they reach those goals, and then helping have a game plan laid out in front of them.
Got it. Really good. We'll switch to another question. This is super tactical, but I think it's important. The question is, have you leveraged search firms, and what has your experience been? So that's outsourcing, maybe finding candidates. So 6 Meridian team, any thoughts on that? It sounds like maybe less so.
To this point, John, we have not used search firms. Thankfully, we've had great success just by word of mouth and referrals. I can't say that continues forever. We've been fortunate to this point, but I understand that firms that are larger of scale of ours and in larger markets would certainly find value in a quality search firm. One of the best quotes I ever heard about that, though, is your search partner, your talent search partner needs to understand your business almost as well as you do, because they need to know your culture, your compensation plan, your long-term plan. So should we ever employ a search firm, that will be they will go through a very stringent interview process themselves.
One thing I'll add to that is, look, there are recruiters that might help with advisory talent. That they're plentiful in the industry, and I think on maybe more functional talent, there. If anyone wants to follow up with Brandon or I, that's great. We might be able to help you a little bit. There are search firms that could potentially help you with that, and that might be the question. So that's something we could take offline for specifics, but there are some niche firms out there, depending on your regional market, that could be able to help. But it's very difficult, and I think Margaret kind of nailed it. Another question for the team, and then might be able to take one more, and then we'll wrap it up for everybody. How has the pandemic impacted your teaming? Never missed a beat? Were you set up for it? How is it going?
Well, like everyone, it was sort of like the pop quiz of life. We have never before, at least in my 30-year career, had a market meltdown, people locked in their houses with nothing to do but watch the news and scared for their lives. So, it was an interesting dynamic. And amongst all of that, we sent our entire team home. Two things I would say. One, we were kind of heading that direction anyway. It was a commitment we'd made to our team that we wanted to give them down the road more flexibility to work from home. So we had started down that path from an equipment and technology standpoint. So we weren't completely off guard. Our technology guru was really helpful in getting everybody up and running and ready to go. Secondly, this is a great example of what the next generation can help the older generation do, because embracing technology, I would say all of us do it, but to have the Tim and Sarah and all the other people on our team that were in that very much a technology comfort zone, they were a great help to all of us in hitting the ground running, continuing client meetings, setting up Zoom calls, communicating. Our investment team worked really hard along with our marketing director to get out client communication that was meaningful at the time that the market was doing what it was doing. So I would say I would give our team wild praise, A+ across the team for how they embraced it, how they made the most of it, and most importantly, how they were able to continue communicating with our clients throughout. So I'm sure Sarah and Tim have some input there too.
Yeah, it's our leadership team did a great job as well. Our team as a whole communicated really well with our clients. Our leadership team, Margaret, Sarah heads up our social committee. So from an inter-firm perspective, I think part of that question is, what happens to your culture when you all get dispersed, right? You're used to running into each other every day. You don't have a choice. You're going to spend some time together. And now all of a sudden, none of us get to be together. So how do we keep the culture that we had? And they did a great job of, we have a morning Zoom call where we all update each other on what's happening. We've done virtual happy hours on Friday afternoons, just different fun things where we remember that we all like being around each other, and we all do this because it's fun and because we love working together. And we're very blessed to be at a firm where we do all like being around each other. And so reminding everybody of that and keeping that culture and keeping that interaction during such a crazy time, everyone did a really good job of that.
I'll jump in there too. I think technology was super important, which we'd been on the front line working pretty hard on leading up to that. So it was convenient that we had done a lot of that. And so being able to transition people to working remotely actually was pretty seamless. There were some things that we had to overcome, but it worked really well. And so we were blessed in that we had started that process. And now I think it just jumped everything up the curve, right? Where you might not have gotten a lot done as quickly. More clients are accepting of doing things like electronic signatures and all of that. And it's made everything more efficient now, which I think is a good thing. And then, like Tim mentioned, I think you forget how important your culture is sometimes and how big of a deal it is that you continue to build that, because it's not just about checking the list for work purposes for client service. It's about how you work together that actually improves your productivity as a team for your business. And that is one thing that we've made a focus on as a group, just to make sure. We jokingly said in the beginning, when it was just a few of us, that our motto was to have fun and make money, right? And having fun was a big part of that. And we try to make sure that happens. So it's not just about getting together socially, even if it's remotely, and playing Family Feud on Zoom or whatever it is as a team at the end of the week. But we also try to do things that are charitably inclined and give and make donations, all of that, and find a way that we can all collaborate together towards things that give us a common good. And that really has improved and maintained a lot of the morale that you might have seen otherwise go down during this time, because it is tough, like Margaret said. And it's not just the client side, but people having to homeschool their kids, all of those things. And so this was a big important part of what we do.
That's such a cool way to wrap it up. We'll kind of end it on that with the panel, but I would say, look, in the end, the business of private wealth is all about what you deliver to your clients, and you're only as good as your team, because when everything else is commoditized, what you have left is the collective wisdom. And it's more than just knowledge, it's the culture, how you work together to deliver the client experience. So as we look to 2021 and hopefully the midterm guidances we're going to come out of this, take the opportunity to nurture culture, look towards what you're going to need in terms of people to propel your business forward. And I think that's so super important. So with that, I'd like to thank our friends at 6 Meridian for joining us today. And I hope the audience felt this webcast was impactful. So have a great rest of the week and a happy Thanksgiving next week. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.